We can't all be Instagram models. The rest of us just have to use hacks. Hey guys, it's Roberto. Welcome back to the vlog. Welcome back to my creative thoughts. Today I'm sitting here twirling my lightsaber and I'm thinking about how I'm using Instagram. For those of you who are not Instagram models, I'm going to walk you through how I'm using the platform. This isn't going to be so much a tutorial, so much as just talking with you about how I think of Instagram, because it's probably a little different than how other people plan to use it. Maybe this will help you with your strategy. So for a ton of different reasons, I'm taking Instagram a lot more seriously than I have in the past. In fact, I've actually gone so far as to completely change my Instagram game in the last couple of months. And if you guys have been following me over at Roberto Blake on Instagram, then you've seen a big difference and shift, not only in how I create content over there, but you've seen me doing Instagram stories, but you've also seen that my post strategy is something that most people are not doing. See, part of the reason that I liked consuming Instagram and I wasn't posting there as much is I couldn't figure out what it is I really wanted to do there. And I couldn't figure out something that fit my personality with the way that most people use Instagram. So what I did was I decided to start using it in a completely different way from everybody else. And I'm gonna expand and double down on that strategy now, because what I figured out was two things. One, I want to use it more as a creative outlet for telling interesting photo stories a little bit. And so right now I'm borrowing the Sony a6500 from my friends at BH Photo Video. That will be getting swapped out for something else here pretty soon. Probably another Sony camera of some kind. And a lot of times I shoot with this 50mm lens or with a 24-70. What that means is I'm getting ridiculously great shots. So I'm sharing more of my own personal photography on Instagram. But what I'm also doing is I'm having friends and sometimes strangers shoot with this or my Panasonic cameras, and I'm getting some great quote-unquote selfie-style shots there. I'm doing different things. But here's what I'm doing differently on my post strategy. I decided to turn Instagram into a public journal where I can express what I'm thinking and feeling as a creative person, as a human. And so I can look back on that myself and know exactly when I felt something, where I was at that time, both geographically in the world and also just where I was in my own head. And that's important to me because one of the things is we share so much of ourselves in social media, but a lot of people are not sharing anything real or anything meaningful or anything personal. And I'm not talking about the personal details of your life or your relationships. I'm talking about the things that make you you. I'm talking about being truly vulnerable and expressing the fact that right now you might be going through something, even if you don't get into specifics, or that right now you're at a stage in your life where everything might be changing, or just again, something of true significance. I think that a lot of social media has become for people a hype train. I think for a lot of people, they're faking a lifestyle. And what you guys don't see me do is you don't see me share the intimate details of my life. What I'm sharing is a journey, and what I'm sharing is perspective and my values, and again, my thoughts on creativity, my thoughts on entrepreneurship, my thoughts on being more human, on being self-aware, how I feel about my own struggles with depression and anxiety and being an introvert. I'm talking about these things publicly in the hopes that by me journaling these things and documenting these things, one, I become more self-aware, and two, maybe I encourage and inspire some of you to be more open, or to be able to talk to people in your life, or even to look at whether you need help for something and to be able to reach out to people. Because I just wish that these kind of conversations were happening for me at a time where I really needed them. I think that there's a tremendous amount of value in being real with your community and in being vulnerable. And I don't think it shows weakness, and I don't think that you have to hype up a lifestyle. I think that if you show people that, being internet famous or being a creator or being a YouTuber or being an Instagrammer or a Snapchatter or whatever it is, if you show them what the reality of that looks like, one, people are actually prepared. I think that's almost like a public service, because I think a lot of people glamorize this stuff, and it is fun and there's a lot of value to it, and there's, money and profitability and success and travel and all the things, right? But what there also is a lot of sleepless nights. What there also is a lot of stress. What there also is some pressure for the people in your personal life. What there is sometimes things in it that affect your personal and romantic relationships, if you even have any. And so I think that reality needs to be presented accurately to people so that they know what they're getting into, and also so that we as creators aren't taken for granted by our own community of thinking that we live a perfect idealized life. I've talked with a lot of creators about that internal struggle, and so by being open about it, I think that maybe that helps people feel that they have permission to be open and to be more honest with their community, with their viewers, or even just with themselves. And so for me, I like the idea of being able to look back. Now, strategically, what's good about that, because I'm a pragmatist, you guys know that about me, even though I'm being completely sincere and real, I've also figured out how to leverage those things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's who I am. That's what my brain is. It's the upside of the fact that in the same way that every time I get into my car, I'm calculating the myriad ways that the car is going to get flipped over or wrecked, I'm also able, whenever I'm doing something, to see an opportunity or the silver lining in that same instant. So it's the upside and downside of my imagination, and maybe I'll talk about that more in another video. Let me know if that's something you're struggling with, by the way, in the comments. Is your imagination both your greatest strength and your greatest weakness? That's a conversation that I'm really super interested in having with you. So for me, one of the things that I really enjoy about Instagram is that I feel it is a content creation platform. So in the form of doing long posts, I use hashtags as part of the conversation if it's important or it merits it. I tag friends who this conversation might be interesting to or who have experienced it, in the hopes that some of them will comment on it and will engage, or maybe just that they'll see it and maybe it'll remind them of what we have in common. So I do that. The other thing that I do is I post multiple times a day now, often, and I'm trying to post every day. What got me to where I am in YouTube was 1,000 executions over the course of 3 to 4 years. In Instagram, I think it has to be 3 times to 4 times the amount of effort, but concentrated in a period of 1 year to 2 years, meaning that I think that for me to break 20,000 followers in Instagram per se, if I'm going to consider that a success metric, which, by the way, you get to 10,000 and that gives you the swipe up feature. So if you're a business account, so what I'm looking at is to grow the engagement and community that I would want to build in Instagram around motivation, around authenticity, about being a creative and talking about that. It's similar to these Creative Thoughts vlogs. I think that in Instagram, that's going to be 2,000 to 3,000 posts within a 1 year to 2 year period. That is going to get me the beginnings of what I want to go, and then I'll need to double down on that. And there's a lot of ways I'm approaching that, and I think that that's more if I focus on photos. I think I can cut that in half if I also produce videos. So I think that if I'm doing micro video content and I do more Instagram stories, that within, I would say less than a year, I think I can go to over 20 to 30,000 if I play those cards right and if I'm making very solid content in Instagram. And so what I'm going to do is I have great content on YouTube. There are 30-second and 1-minute sound bites that are actually really good. So I'm going to have those things edited and chopped up and remixed for Instagram, but I'm also going to produce some straight up things for Instagram that I think will play out very well. And so these are my growth hacks. This is what I'm really excited about. But what I'm interested about for Instagram more than anything is the journaling and showing off some of my own photography chops, and also doing this higher level selfie game, because this is actually really cool for me, and it's a better way to start to get a sense of what will be better for my own press photos and what photos will be good for thumbnails. So it's also letting me use this as beta testing for my own branding. So this is a completely different, I think, approach than most people have to Instagram. I think testing images for potential YouTube thumbnails and overall social media branding is a different way to use it to see what people respond to. I also think, really going after engagement by being honest and vulnerable and documenting for yourself, I think that's a different angle. And I think that people are sleeping on edited Instagram videos and edited Instagram story videos. I think that that is a big higher level play, and I've got the editing and production chops, and now I'm putting together freelancers and outsourcing, so I'll be able to do more of that without sacrificing time from anything else. And I think those are my big growth hacks. Those are my big secrets. And so you guys may not consider me an authority in Instagram, but I think by now you guys know I'm a content and branding strategist. So if you want to kind of like pick my brain and use that, I think that for the game that I'm playing, if a lot of you were gonna focus on Instagram, you could literally steal these ideas for yourself, and some of you will literally 10x, 20x, 100x outperform me in Instagram if you do these things. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I would love for some of you guys to hit up my Instagram feed, check out the stuff, tell me how you think, how you feel about it. There's a lot of things where I'm asking you questions there, and I think it's gonna really help generate a conversation, and so that's why I like doing it. Also, how are you guys using your Instagram? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious about that. Maybe you guys will give me some ideas. What are your best tips for growing an Instagram following if you're there? What are your growth hacks? Anyway, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for just letting me share my thoughts with you. I hope you enjoyed some of these tips. As always, you guys, just thanks so very much for watching. And don't forget, go out there and create something awesome today. Take care.